Meeting today. Thanks everybody for attending the May component meeting. With us today we have Nick Bono there in the back. He's going to be presenting to us on Renlita Custom Opening Solutions. So we're looking forward to that presentation. We certainly appreciate your time coming in and educating us. Without your support and information coming in and telling us about products, a lot of times we don't know. So we're happy to have you. Before we get started with this presentation, we have a couple of announcements. Today's component meeting. Friday, May 31st, we have some SAFE training, which Kate would like to talk about just briefly.
Yeah. For those of you that don't know what SAFE training is, it's presented and offered by the State Emergency Management Agency, similar to FEMA. Or state SEMA, and it basically sets you up so that in the case of a disaster, architects, engineers, people in the construction industry, inspectors can all go out and help support the state, something like a Joplin tornado, assess the buildings. That doesn't mean that you have to go in, pull people out or anything like that. You're just basically saying, is it safe to do it? So we're basically trying to build a membership. Everybody knows where we have a threat of tornadoes, but the New Madrid is in our state as well. So they have emphasized that we really need people in southwest Missouri and the Kansas City area to beef up our numbers, because if that were to ever go, pretty much your southeast section all the way up to Birkbed to St. Louis, it would be. So I really encourage you to look into this. It's really, you pretty much just get the training. It's not that complex. You guys all know basic structure. Trust me, it'll be a repeat for you. And they offer 7 HSW credits. So for those of you that are licensed, it's a quick way to get a bunch of credits for your year. To renew every 2 years, you basically go to the same training again. But yeah, they do like tests and things like that. And then it's completely optional if there is actually a disaster and you are mandated by any means. So I've been signed up for a couple of years. I did it when I was in Texas. It's just a good thing to have everybody at least trained, just in case. So.
Yeah, is that something that is activated on the state level, where they
Yes.
ask you don't just go out and start checking out tornado damage?
Yeah, they would trigger you, and they take care of. I mean, it kind of depends on what happens, if it's flooding or whatnot, but they would make sure you have a place to stay, feed you, and all that. Honestly, it would be a whole collection of Salvation Army, and you know how it would go. So you would be well taken care of if that were to happen. And it may be just down the road, so maybe you just go and help out for a day and come back. And I believe they help with getting time off work too to compensate you. Do you remember, Steve, how that works?
I don't know about the compensation, but the government has to enact it. It's an emergency, and then you'll get Good Samaritan clause kick in. So when you're out there making your assessments based on your best judgment, the liability is not there for that. So,
Right.
But I don't know about the travel and all that. I mean, they'll take care of you while you're there, though.
It's pretty cool just to see SEMA too. They have a lot of GPS high-tech stuff these days. During the Joplin tornado, it was a little bit more rudimentary. But yeah, there are other trainings throughout the year. I think there are like 10 of them, but this is the one that's in Springfield. So if you don't want to have to travel, go do it on your time for that day.
Great, thanks, Kate. AIA National Convention right around the corner, on the doorstep. Don't lose too much money. And then next month's component meeting is at Elmus. It's a great tour. If you folks haven't been there, I highly recommend it so you can see the craftsmanship and the work that those folks do. If you do come to that meeting, which I hope that you do, we're going to start at 11:45. Bring safety glasses and clothes, so the shoes, if you have them. Stephen, a few announcements from Stephen on these items.
On the city codes, as you're probably all aware, we're going to be, city's going to adopt 2018 code soon. So there's been a lot of discussion about the energy code that's tied to that. And so right now, they're going to stick with the 2012 energy code, but they are kind of tweaking a few things in that code and still keeping that attached. Eventually, the goal is to move in subsequent code cycles to get the energy code and the building code all the same. So, so I don't know, maybe 2024, you might have the same energy code, the same building code. You know, 2021, you might have still staggered energy code. It's going to get caught up as the plan, just not all at one time. There have been meetings going on with partner associations, so AIA, Springfield Contractor Association, Home Builders Association, ASHRAE. So there's been meetings already being held, discussions with Harlan Hill, folks at the city, and there are continuing meetings. There's actually a meeting set up for May 16th coming up. There will be your board of directors representative at those meetings, so we always try to make sure we're involved in that discussion and representing our membership. So that's kind of the nuts and bolts on that. Just want to make you aware that we do have a seat at that table. So.
Great. Yeah, Dan Scott has a few words about the Springfield Architecture Foundation.
Good afternoon. I'm pleased to let you know that we started with $55,000 January 1, and now a little bit over 4 months in, we have grown that to 72,000. So we are well on our way to our initial goal of 100,000 before we are making disbursement. Since there's a couple of newer faces in the audience, they're not necessarily new, just don't come to the office here, talk to Jerry for a minute. Goodness, this year. We've known each other for 30 years, so I can take on Springfield Area Foundation for Architecture is a permanent fund that we have set up with Community Foundation of the Ozarks. And within that fund, we have started what we're calling the Richard P. Stoll Society. That membership in that society can be gained by making a $1,000 donation to the foundation. And that's how we've been able to grow this so quickly. And one of the reasons that I want to make sure that you all are interested in perhaps making a donation very soon is that during this first year, 2019, our inaugural year, and anyone who becomes a society member will also be designated permanently as a founder of the society and founder of SAP. So we hope you can consider doing that. I have 4 copies of the letter. I'm hopeful with this presentation. The letter has a mailing address where you can send a check to Community Foundation to make that contribution. And I would love to be able to give these 4 away at today's meeting if I have anyone that would be interested in those. You can hold up your hand now. You can see me after the meeting, or you can wait for me to call you, and I'll tell you about that. Jennifer has become a founder, and Stephanie in her office is on her way. Stephanie's taking the route of making 4 $250 payments to get to $1,000. As long as that's accomplished by the end of the year, you're still able to have the founder's designation. We did that in order to perhaps make this a little bit more affordable to, shall I say, some of our younger members or
Arts Fest that transpired this past weekend.
Yeah, for the first time ever, we decided to participate in the annual Arts Fest over on East Walnut Street. And I think it was a pretty successful event. I know Karen stopped by for a little while. Dan was there, several others in the audience. Those of you that don't know what Arts Fest is, it's a 2-day event in the springtime. I think I heard that 20,000 people attended this year's Arts Fest. So for us to be there is pretty good to get that sort of exposure and that engagement. And really, it's our crowd. These people are art and architecture appreciators. We did have to explain what AIA meant to a lot of people, so we might work on our graphics for next year. But you can see we set up this little homage to Charlie Brown's, where Lucy is the Boston psychiatric advisor. And so we got lots of questions about what vertical gardens and decks and pergolas and portable housing and people's dreams and problems. And then I guess our favorite quote was a guy that needed a portable building, and we kind of had to coax him into talking to us, and about 5 minutes into it, he's like, gosh, I didn't even realize I had a problem until I started talking to him. You know, whatever we can do to point out people's issues. But at the end of it, he said, that was fun, like eating cereal that's good for you. So I think that was a success. And then a couple weeks ago, we also had an event, as you might have heard, Brandon Bake is now in the College of Fellows. So he's officially at AIA. And there's a picture there of Andy Wells, Tracy Suter, and Michael Bona, who are also fellows. So now we have 4 in our community, which is pretty significant for the per capita of our membership. So definitely 2 things to celebrate. We also went through a lot of bubble walks and sidewalk chalk with the kiddos. So we found you kind of have to entertain the kiddos while the parents are talking shop. So I invite you all to participate. If we do that again next year, or just come and swing by.
I was going to say, is that an ongoing event that we're going to have every year?
I think so. We'll
Yeah.
talk about it, but yeah, we'll get a new banner that says we are architects, just to make sure it's really clear. But I think we'll probably try to do that again.
Great.
Yeah,
Awesome.
watch for that this time next year.
Thanks so much, Kate. So, yeah, lots of things to celebrate so far this year. And the Arts Fest in May is a great one. Good exposure to the community and something that our practice needs daily. So with that, I think we hit the end of the announcements. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Interpreters, Terracon, and Tote. Yeah, you can't say enough about our sponsors every month. And I'd also like to welcome any of the audience that may be watching our streamcast. Today is sort of our inaugural Mid-Missouri, I don't want to say partnership, but we've opened the link to some of our outside membership or regional membership. So if anybody's tuned in there, we're glad to have you. With that, Nick, the floor is yours.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
You should have those links. Oh, there we go. Here?
No, the one on the right.
Perfect.
Go. And here's your clicker.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. My name is Nick Bono. I am with Abby Simon's company out of Kansas City. I want to thank you all for your time. I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. Thunderstorms rolled through, crying baby, crying dog. So I'm all hopped up on energy drinks. So if my voice trembles, it's not necessarily because I'm nervous, it's because I feel like I'm going through convulsions. Today we're going to be talking about, well, let me tell you about Abby Simon's. Abby Simon's company has been in business since, I want to say, 1947. My grandfather had started it. My father is now my boss, so I am the 3rd generation. The spec sections that we live in are 8, 10, and 12. We are heavy in the motorization of window treatments. Of course, we do blinds, but that's not as popular unless we're all building an apartment complex. Everything seems to be roller shades these days. The other portion of our business is modern fold operable partitions. Whether it be a glass operable wall or a solid panel operable wall, if any of you need information on that or maybe further education, technology has advanced pretty rapidly in that realm. It's no longer just an accordion partition that you'd see in a church basement. We now have operable panels that have switch glass where you can have clear transparency, flip a switch, it's blacked out. And there have been some pretty amazing increases in STC levels with glass. If you guys want to find all that out later, just reach out to me. There's a business card there. Today we're going to be speaking about vertical bifolding doors. There's going to be a few different types we're going to be talking about. We're going to compare and contrast those. This will help you learn what may be best for your project. There are a lot of details we're not going to be going over today. When it comes to your project, feel free to reach out to me as a resource. Now this is all I do is mainly vertical bifolding doors. It's become my passion. It's taken off in Kansas City. Is anyone here from H Design Group by chance? No. Okay, well there's a project that Holson Miller is tag teaming with them that they reached out for some numbers. So I always like to start off with a few videos that get the mind rolling to show that this isn't just a corporate farming door or a helicopter hangar door. These vertical bifolding doors can be used in lieu of, let's say, a modern fold operable partition. Instead of going to a stack and pulling a panel, bringing it out, going back to the stack, grabbing a panel, bringing it out, now we can press a button. Your cladding can be stone, brick, glass, anything really that's up to 4 inches thick, we can put on one of these doors. Cowl wall. There's a project where the architect light bulb went off in Kansas City and goes, I want to separate the gymnasium from the cafeteria. And that's going to happen. So the possibility is endless. This isn't just a door, it's a wall, it's a window. It can be anything that you want it to be. So before we start with the actual presentation, I'd like to show a couple of videos to show the product a little bit better. This is architect Wes Chin out of New York. This is a residential house in Long Island. So I fast forward to this.
And they cater to the client's interests and needs. Everyone in this house, at some point or another, gravitates back towards the ocean. The house is designed to flow really smoothly from one room to the other, especially in the public spaces, the entertaining spaces. But one of the coolest features of the entire house is this aircraft hangar door. I push this little button here, and the wall behind me will become a wall that folds
This door
up.
survived Hurricane Sandy, no problems. First floor, can't say the same about that.
And the living room, that becomes part of the outside environment. And the outside environment becomes part of the living room. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like it. And it really makes this a magical space for me. The uniqueness of this house is that you feel like you're on a perch right over the Atlantic Ocean. And by opening up the hangar door, it creates a unique feeling where you just feel like your house, your living room, is the Atlantic Ocean. It really feels like the water is coming right into your house. It's really like your front lawn. And I think that's a special feeling that very few people can ever achieve. Thank you.
So these bifold doors aren't just a door. It's almost an experience. It's a system. It really brings the outside in. It's truly an amazing product once you see one installed. Here's another product. This is a overhead coiling door and sectional door rolled into one. Not a garage door. Notice how the panels fold in a zigzag fashion up in a pocket. This is a door that is made by my manufacturer that I represent and a number of others that are manufactured just like this. As you can see, there's frosted glass on the upper panels and clear glass below. Very, very quiet. The sound you hear in the background is the AC system. These doors have become quite popular to separate flex rooms in schools. To show the true power of these doors, this is a bifold door that's 54 feet wide by 24 foot tall at the ASU College of Law. This is a true bifold that's halfway opened up. Notice the truss system here that was tied in at the bottom to keep the rigidity. When doors get somewhat that large, you have to add a small truss system to keep everything tied in together. This is from the exterior using 1-inch insulated glass. I believe that's SolarBand 70XL. And here's a view from the interior. Okay, to start the presentation. Today we're going to be talking about vertical opening solutions. This is a credited course. Everyone please sign in. That way I can get you your credits. That way also I can let my manufacturer know that I'm doing my job by coming out to you all and presenting to you, making you aware of the product. Today we're going to discuss vertical operating systems, their construction, operating mechanisms, and architectural applications and contributions to the sustainable initiative. Your course objectives today, we're going to compare and contrast the different vertical operating systems and discuss their components and safety features and their applications. We're going to explain how vertical operating systems interact with the building structure itself. We will identify how counterweight balance systems benefit users and occupants in terms of ease of operability and contributions to the indoor environment. Course objective number 4, it gets very dry. It's a lot of reading, it's a lot of repetitive. There's always an awkward silence for about 5 minutes, so if any of you have questions, feel free to ask me at that time, because I know I'll probably be running a little short on time. Section 1, Introduction to Vertical Operating Systems. Historically, you would see these operating systems, these bifold doors in the industrial field, whether it be corporate farming, or an aircraft hangar door, or a helicopter hangar. These systems operate via straps, hydraulics, or counterbalance lift mechanisms. Cable and strap is the traditional lift type. I'm sure a few of you drive by Golden Valley Hospital on the way to Kansas City. There's a great view of a strap bifold door that almost sits on the highway. There's a helicopter inside the hangar. I saw it today, they had it open. Very important that you guys drive, when you do drive by that, take a look of the clear opening space that you're not getting. And we'll get into that later. The traditional lift types of the cable strap systems, there's a very, very large electric motor that winds these cables and straps up above the door. This is very, very outdated industrial hangar technology. These systems tend to require more repair and maintenance. The installation and replacement is difficult, cumbersome, and costly. Do you guys have a Menards in Springfield by chance? So the new Menards on the upper story in the garden area, they will have a strap type door. So if you're in there next, check it out. It's pretty cool. That is a great application for that door. That door in a school, probably not so good. We'll get into that a little bit later. The cable and strap system is typically exposed and unsightly. The advantage of these systems are versatile and are sizable to meet the design needs, and they offer a variety of cladding options. The drawbacks, the straps and cables are always visible. So if you decide to put this in an elementary school or a commercial office setting, You'll have those straps that people can walk by and grab. I'm sure there's a number of you that have ran their hands through a cable before, a metal cable, and that hurts. Those will always be exposed. Something to think about for your projects. There are some clear opening space restrictions, like I was talking about at the hospital, extremely high power requirements, and a very, very high structural load placed on the building itself with this type of door system. This is typical. Oh, that's how those doors start. Notice how this door has 100% exterior projection. There's your exposed cable. There's probably 3 or 4 cables holding up that door. If one of those cables snaps, the next cable has to carry the weight of the cable that's forever. The next system that we're going to talk about is the hydraulic system. Hydraulics are engineered to swing up by way of cylinders powered by an electric motor and hydraulic pump. The hydraulics offer a very strong lift mechanism and it's very smooth, although it's extremely loud. If you go on YouTube, it's very hard to find audio of a hydraulic door. You have to go about 10 feet. The hydraulic motors are loud and often leak, requiring additional maintenance. Hydraulics, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when you're going to have a problem or leak. And these hydraulic doors are not manually operable, so in case of a situation, there is a hand crank somewhere wherever the pump was located to install that. Advantages of the hydraulic system: smooth, less moving parts, less headroom is required, and they are actually very easy to install. Drawbacks: ongoing excessive maintenance, requires excessive electrical power, significant load to the building, which we'll get into in a later slide. The system is exposed and visibly distracting. I don't really agree with that. I think the hydraulic is kind of cool. Clear opening space restrictions and very, very slow operating speeds. The final system we're going to speak about is the counterweight balance system. There's 4 individual types: a vertical lift, a pivot, a hinge, and a bifold. If you look at this picture, this may look a little familiar. This technology with these counterweights wasn't stolen, it was borrowed from the old farmhouse antique windows that have the counterweights. So they took that concept and realized that with these counterweights, we can span great widths and great heights and put a very, very, very small motor that plugs into a wall outlet and draws about 6 amps. It's truly remarkable. The counterweight balance systems offer no overhead track, minimal intrusion into the interior space, unlimited cladding choices up to 4 inches thick. We can span great widths and heights, 90 feet wide by 30 feet tall. I believe the largest door ever manufactured was 90 by 30. It's not a shocker, it's in Dubai. We can withstand high winds in closed and open positions. They are weather tight. They all are insulated. There's very smooth and quiet operation when in use. Clean, precise detailing. All doors are manually operable. Now there comes a point where if you have a very large door in terms of height, we have gaskets that make constant contact. If your door is 20 feet tall, that's a lot of pressure with the gasket and someone pushing to open up the door. So when it comes to manual operable, we like to stay 12, 14 feet height range, just for your use. Very minimal electrical requirements, like I stated before. Additional customization is available. These doors are truly customizable. If you have an opening that has a radius, it's not a problem. The first counterweight system is the vertical lift system. It's a single panel, there's no hinge point. The door goes up or it goes down. This is a door at Gensler's office in LA. On the other side of that vertical lift is a work surface inside their conference room. The vertical lift system, there's no internal or external protrusion. Versatility of cladding, sight lines, shapes, and sizes. The requirement for this door is you must have the space above or below the opening to allow the panel to rise and lower. Since this panel goes straight up, if this panel height is 10 feet tall, you need 10 feet for this to go up. Or 10 feet for this to go down or low. I would prefer you design it to go up and not down. It can be done, but it's difficult. The next system is the vertical pivot system. It's a single panel. Here's a video of this single panel pivot system. This is manual operable. Since it's counterbalanced, it's extremely easy to operate. The vertical hinge system, notice the hinge point right here. Notice the exterior door path. What's very, very neat about this system is this top panel here goes above the opening. And what that allows us to do is give you more of a clear opening usable space. We're talking 5 or 6 inches that you're not able to use because of from this point from here, the distance from here to here. Also, this door creates a natural awning effect when it's up. With this system and this system only, since this panel rises up in this fashion, we can add a man door or swing door, passport. A couple pictures of the vertical hinge system. That is a custom wood grain powder coat. Here's a video of the vertical hinge system. Notice the sight lines that we were able to match, all these mullions. That's how the rest of the building looks. We're able to do that. The counterweights are hidden here in a counterweight cover. Notice how that top panel is going above the opening. I often get asked, typically I don't present on a projection screen, it's usually a TV. People always ask what this is. This is what you call an afterthought. This is facing the south elevation in Dallas, Texas. There on the other side of this room are a bunch of TV monitors. Well, they had a glare issue, so they added some manual shades. I call this a choking hazard. I'm in the shading industry. Let's put some lithium battery motorized shades on that. Let's not do that. Next system is the vertical bifold system. Notice the hinge point here in the middle. This allows us for a 50% interior, 50% exterior projection. I should have mentioned on the vertical hinge system, the video we just saw, that top panel is about a 30% interior intrusion. Bottom panel, 70% exterior protrusion. Here's the house we just saw in that video. Here's an example of a bifold with stainless steel cladding. This is the system where we can span 90 feet by 30 tall. It is the true bifold system. Some of you may be saying, wow, that's kind of slow. Our installers have the ability to turn the motor speed up or down. Section 2, how vertical systems interact with the building structure. Because the cable strap and hydraulic door lift mechanisms are housed overhead, this limits the opening capacity of the door because the lift mechanisms are in the way. I'm not sure if you all can see it, but there are some hardware right in between these two leaves. Hydraulic and strap operated door panels are limited in travel and provide less than 85% of the available space when open. This brings me back to Golden Valley Hospital, that aircraft hangar door, or the helicopter hangar door. When you're driving by, there's about 3 or 4 feet of unusable space. But for that application, it's the perfect door. But maybe for your design, it's not. Counterweight systems can pivot and rise the entire height of the opening, leaving the maximum usable space. Power requirements. Hydraulic and strap operated systems do not have the advantage of being counterbalanced. They require much more electrical power to operate. Typically a 3-phase, 240 volt or 480 volt hydraulic, 20 amp or greater pump is required. This is a hydraulic pump. You're going to need to think of, where am I going to put this? Am I going to put it in the soffit overhead, the ceiling overhead? Am I going to put it in a closet over here? Power requirements for a counterweight balance door typically require 110 volt, single phase, 6 to 8 amps. We're down to a solid 6 amps now. Less energy means reduced electrical costs, and the motor is concealed within the wall adjacent to the system. The current motor that comes with the counterweight systems literally fits in the palm of my hand. There's a new motor that's being released May 15th that I'd like to talk to you about after the presentation. Counterweight systems are extremely quiet, very small motor. It's truly an amazing experience to watch these doors go up and down. My favorite slide. Load requirements. Counterweight lift systems do not impose a significant lateral load. They require no header steel structure. There are 2 projects in Kansas City, I'm not going to name which ones they are, where the architect had a hydraulic door on the blueprints. Counterweight door was listed as an acceptable manufacturer. I was low on the bid. My product's on the project. I go to a job site visit, and I see an I-beam up there. I go, what is this here for? The general contractor goes, oh, that's the support for your door. We also got your tubes here. With a counterweight balanced door, this is a huge advantage of using a counterweight balanced door. All of the weight occurs at the jamb, which means we can attach to steel tubes, filled CMU block, wood. We don't need an I-beam. I don't live in structural steel world, but I know that I wanted to open up my kitchen, and putting in an I-beam at my house was in the neighborhood of $9,000. So there's 2 projects in Kansas City where there's I-beams there for no reason. That's a credit back to the owner. Can you guys see that okay with the lights on? cladding up to 1 inch insulated for glass. How are we doing on time? This is a manually operable door. Vertical bifolding doors, hinge doors, pivot doors, not only are to be used on the exterior, but on the interior. Where you'll see these doors are the commercial fields, restaurants, residential garage doors, patios, pool houses, lake house, apartment penthouses, institutional, universities, stadiums. There are countless NCAA stadiums that are using these types of doors. And of course, industrial settings. Section 3, we're going to compare and contrast the safety standards and features. All vertical operating doors since 1996 are required to have an entrapment safety device. This is the minimal safety requirement. However, there are some additional safety features you should look for when specifying a vertical acting door. Regarding the hydraulic and cable strap doors, they provide a sensing edge at the bottom panel. The panel will reverse if obstructed. This red line is where contact has to be made on a hydraulic and cable strap door for it to be reversed. So if someone bumps their head here, or if another object makes contact with here, it's not going to sense. It's going to be continually operating. Counterweight lift safety features, they're all manually operable. It comes with an automatic obstruction sensing motor system, not a sensing edge. The motor can sense if there's an object that it hits, and then it reverses. All of these counterweight doors that you've seen today are high wind load and hurricane resistant in the open, closed, or in operation. They are large missile impact resistant, depending on the cladding that you choose. Sizing restraints, and every system comes with infrared safety photo eyes.
For you is to be safe. Safety is designed all throughout our doors. First, when our eye sensors and/or our automatic obstruction sensor detect a foreign object in the door's path, the door will reverse to the open position and stay there until the obstruction is removed. Next.
Yeah, they should have shown it actually reversed. So. Counterweight lift fail-safe device. This only comes on a counterweight system. In the event of a counterbalance system, component failure, the fail-safe device automatically engages and prevents panel movement. I'm going to restart that video because I brought one here. Does everyone see that? So what that's showing you is there's a cable that runs through here and back around. It's a 6-to-1 ratio. So if your door weighs 1,000 pounds, the pulley cable is rated for 6,000 pounds. In the event of a system failure or cable failure, it's never happened. This is just to prevent a problem if it ever does arise. This is when the cable is in working fashion. Nothing is popped out. Everything can flow smoothly. When a cable snaps, and what this does is there are pre-drilled holes in the jamb. There'll be one here, one here, one here, one here, so on and so forth. So that this will go in one of those holes and it will stop the door. This will only come on a counterweight door. This This is where it becomes a little dry. Section 4, sustainability, considerations, and LEED certification. Is Inform Architecture in here?
She just left.
Oh, good, then I can talk all about it. Sustainability and LEED. Materials and resources, I'll let you guys read that slide. There's not much I can say to that. So this daylighting and view slide, I will touch base on this. There's a hotel in downtown Kansas City, Missouri that wants to use 3 of these on a rooftop bar at a hotel for just the views of downtown to bring the outside in. Energy and atmosphere, this is where Inform Architecture comes in. I got a phone call from Inform a few years ago. They were designing, I want to say it was a horse arena. They wanted 3 doors on the east elevation and 3 doors on the west elevation. They were going to house the horses inside in the stalls. And they wanted to tie it in with the HVAC system, which we can do. The thought behind it was when the temperature inside the horse stadium, arena, or horse stable, whatever it was, when the temperature got to, call it 84 degrees, the doors would automatically open up between the hours of 8 and 4:30 to create a natural draft for the horses. The project never came to fruition, but that is capable of what these doors can do. They're truly customizable. Here are some project examples. We've seen this door a number of times. This is a software company in Dallas. They had 2 custom 25.5 by 12.5 motorized counterweight systems, the vertical hinges. Like I said before, notice the mullions that we were able to match on the rest of the building. This is a raw sushi bar. The pavilion at Sundance Square, this is in Texas, Dallas. 13 motorized counterweight vertical hinge system. This building can be rented out for weddings, presentations, things of that nature. Now you should be able to compare and contrast vertical operating systems and discuss their components and safety features. Explain how vertical operating systems interact with the building structure. Identify how counterweight balance systems benefit users and occupants both in terms of ease of operability and contributions to the indoor environment. And that is it. I've waited patiently to tell you the manufacturer that I represent is Renlita Doors, because I'm not allowed to say during the presentation. Are there any questions? There's always one grand question.
How do you budget this?
How much does it cost? It's usually what I get. That's a great question. This type of door has to be in the budget/design phase. My doors are typically always the eat out if it's on the tail end. You need a budget between $200 to $300 a square foot. And why there is such a range is because of the type of cladding that we see. Sometimes the architect wants wood casework. But we prefer that to be done in the factory, and the factory is going to charge us to put it on. The reason why we like to do that is these doors are very large and they come on a semi-trailer. We don't want any issues with wood and casework. We want to be able to take it off the flatbed and install it in a number of 2 or 3 days. So $200 to $300 a square foot. Now there is, sorry?
A vertical square foot. So 10 foot by door would be $2,500 per height, per vertical foot height.
So there was one system we did not talk about, the A750. The A stands for aluminum. All of the S doors, S1000, 2000, 3000, that S stands for steel. There's really not a big price difference. They're just hinged differently for your application. A lot of people think that the S1000 is less expensive than an S100,000. Let's see, A750, back to that. It's aluminum. And what we're able to do with this A750 is offer you tremendous savings. It's about 35% less compared to an S-Door. Now, there's a caveat. This A750 has 100% exterior projection. So there was a slide that we went over that since it has 100% exterior projection, there is some hardware that gets in the way. You need to subtract about 2 foot off your finish opening, and then you get your clear opening. Now, different manufacturers will have different height limitations, but it's not all bad. 100% exterior projection, you can put this in a restaurant, and you can have a table right up next to the door system, and the panel will never interfere with that table.
And Nick, I've got 2 questions. You guys have a fire-rated application yet? Or
Nope.
say anything that you're working on?
No.
Is that an operational issue? I mean, obviously, it's not a glass issue. You can get rated glazing, it's just not in the works.
It's the frame. They haven't tested the frame. I've done that a couple times. We do have wind loads, fenestration tests. We have that. We're the only manufacturer that can give that to you. There are some cities where that's come up, so we've got that done. The Miami-Dade County test should be published here fairly shortly.
Second question is,
Sorry.
who's your biggest competition in terms of door types?
I would say crown door, but typically it doesn't come up because they can't go as wide. Their max width is 18 feet wide. There's a new kit on the block called Vista Air. They're also 18 feet wide. It operates via a screw drive system. If you go to their website, be careful, everything is a rendering. There was a big install at a Toyota dealership in Beaver. Feel free to call Beaver Toyota, as I did, to see how the install went and see how they liked it. They want to take them out. They don't work. In terms of Schweiss, which is a cable strap door, we don't get in the aircraft hangar door business. We don't get in the helicopter pad. We don't get into the corporate farming. Schweiss is Schweiss. Renlita is Renlita. It's an apple and an orange. We want to work with the architectural community to make this a truly custom product. We don't agree with the strap systems. There are some serious safety issues with that. I'm sure there's articles you can find on the internet. So that's where we stand with Schweiss. Schweiss is an inexpensive door. That's what you're going to get what you pay for. May 15th, big date. New motors coming out. The current motor, the old motor, had a belt, kind of like your car. Not that that was a problem, but it was only rated for 30,000 cycles. Now, for most of your designs, that's fine. The new motor is beltless, direct drive, and they tried to future-proof it. And what I mean by future-proof it is now the motor has Wi-Fi, Zigbee, Bluetooth, and an iPhone app. And why that was important is 60 to 70% of our business, these doors are in schools. Not only on the exterior, 60% of our sales are probably interior doors. The Sovereign door, you can look at the brochure, looks like well, you saw it in the mall. It was a coin lane door and sectional door put together. We're using those as flex space dividers, flex room dividers. Any other questions? Sure.
It's a heavy door.
Yes.
Your frame design, if it's being carried by a jam, are your engineers designing the jam structure, or is that passed on to the architect?
Great question. We do Renlita, and Abby Simons does not structurally tell you what you need. We'll put it on the shop drawings. We'll show you the steel tubing. But a structural engineer needs to say, hey, we need this size steel tubing. We'll give them the loads. If it's glass, if it's wood, if it's cowwall, we'll have the weight, we'll have all that on there. So the structural engineer can do this is the 100% turnkey. No one else can say that. From powder coating to cladding to freight to install, all the installers are certified.
And finally, your sill condition, I can't tell just from photo.
Sure.
What's happening at the sill where that works?
So all the exterior doors come with a floor threshold. Around the door is 100% weather gasketing, but there is a floor threshold on every single exterior door. When we get to interior doors, we don't really put those on. There's no need for it. If you want one, we can put one on there, but there's no need. It's aluminum. If you're going to be putting this in a car dealership, you don't want aluminum, we can switch that to a steel.
Any other questions? Nick, appreciate your time.
Yes.
Thanks for the information. It's a great product. If you haven't filled out the AIA registration form in the back there, be sure to do so before we leave. With that,
Thank you all.
we are adjourned. Brand I do curtain all the way. That's what do storefront.
Well, and I said,
And what is that? Oh, the storage is like a little bit cheaper off the shelf, pre-manufactured.
But if you have 40 stores, 20%,
You know, I do a lot of we have a need for this type of operation. Any three-day first floor, we have a hydraulic version going.
I've been doing this.
And I'm not sure that they were aware of this system. And the hydraulics and it's kind of cool. It's big arms. Great product.
what is nice is family office is my job. I was recently
Shows up.
And if it's a motor shoe, slap me in on it. But if it's a motor shoe,
Do you end up having like any sort of maintenance program with these doors? Okay.
there's instruments and they can what their maintenance, they're doing.
They put some grease on it, make sure that it's not binding up. It's great stuff.
They'll be gasketing, braces.
Sure.
5 times a day. Those are junior hires.
Okay.
But we'll replace it every 2 years.
Okay.
But it's a site, so it takes 2 seconds, that's it.
Right. Cool. Good stuff. Thank you.
Threshold across the bottom of the heat accessibility.
I think it was while you were a boy.
I'm not sure that it's never.
It's a real good question. It didn't look like it, but half an inch.
Half inch. I don't know how much of a track
I'll
it
tell you what,
is.
I'm pretty sure it's more than half a truck. On my calculator.
Till last August.
Of course, they're using stadiums. The problem is I never Kansas City, they're always in San Diego, San Francisco. But they do call on me as a resource. I'm helping DLR design a hotel in Denver. Because of the coming I haven't been called on any of those, but I'm sure Pipeline is doing it.
I don't know how much overhead stuff we do it. Just on the side of the walls, but
Well, the reason why Pompous likes this product is in Hollis, with Hollis Mill, Kansas City, they specify, since these are cameras, it's what's wrong with this store? You know, it's no shit. If there's one, you're gonna know when you're not gonna have a problem with a year or 2 or 3 down the road. These motors are incredibly useful. They don't require any power. I mean, it's.
when you get down to the single phase and low weight.
No, and that's huge. we just don't go there because there's never a key product. Rarely they but they do use a resource for all that town products.
Would you solve that project out of
I will not. Maybe, right? So we're not. But there are independent distributors just like us. That
Well,
really
I mean, they don't all work out at the racetrack.
So Populous did use bifold doors in the outfield section of the ball.
Yeah.
Those were hydraulic.
In copper.
Yeah, those were hydraulic, but we didn't have relieving doors at that time. We got it 3 weeks after the bid date, and it was a done deal. So we were kind of bummed because I'm a big Royal fan. But this is my passion, so if you ever have a project where you just want budget information, a quote, feel free.
Okay.
I appreciate your time. Thank you.
I've met you before, so you're games, so you know me.
Oh, well, my father's name is Bono, and my grandfather's name is Bono, and my uncle's Mike Bono, and we all know each other.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I doubt that it's usually a big surprise. Never.
Nothing from now.
All right. I mean, this is not nearly as stressful as which we had last week.
What they say? You want to take that whole tray?
That was, I mean, the preparation.
Is this really what taking the next work? So you guys
See you guys.
do all that? See you, Jennifer.
Well, okay, so I can see who's in fifth here, if anybody wants that. Because otherwise, what do you do with it? You take it down to River Street?
I do, but I feel like that's almost hardly enough.
I know.
So like walk the door, be like, hey, I've got a bunch of measurements. I do a lot.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like, see what you can come up with lasagna. And somebody does that.
Yeah. All right.
It's really good too. I enjoy that.
Yeah, I will see, because I know there's some still around.
I'll be here for a few minutes.
I'll go see what I can bring.
Just put me on another conference call.
Well, I don't want to public speaking, but
That'd be great, it'd be great.
good.
Absolutely great, yeah, I mean, I was thinking about that, who's a big fan of just getting out and speaking in general. And then you start thinking about some of these like young candidates, you know, in the public forum. You're just like, man, you're getting up in front of thousands of people, it's just blah, blah, blah. I guess you just have to feel comfortable about yourself and your message. Right? If you believe in what you're trying to tell people, it's easy to talk about.
You do
Attendance was a little late today, but we just never know. We gave up doing the registration because then people would register their routes to pay. Sure. And so as soon as we said, just show up, we started getting much better attendance. Usually, like I said, we usually around 35 to 40. I don't know if it's the weather or what, but it's also the end of the school year, so a lot of folks are tied up.
Well, if this is a product that you want me to come down to your firm and give a presentation to your folks, I'm more than happy to do that.
Yeah, because none of my people were here. You know, we've got one of the larger firms in Springfield. There was nobody here. Usually it takes me to poke and prod a little bit. I am going to scan this real quick.
And that gives us the opportunity to be a little bit more of an informal presentation.
Yeah, we don't ever get, you can bash the
Well,
competitors.
there's been some distributors that have gotten in trouble with the AIA. All East Coast people.
Well, competition's tough, you know?
It is.
I mean,
The biggest problem with these doors is the specifications. A lot of times they don't know what they're specifying.
are you guys in master spec?
We are, but there are so many options in there that it
Yeah.
just convolutes everything, and it'll ruin a bid.
Well, it always does. I mean, that really is the problem we have nowadays. We can put everything we want in the specs, and the contractor takes those as just kind of general guidelines. And then you get out to the field, or you get the submittal, you know, the shop drawings, and do it, eat something, do it.
Karen, she likes to grab me, she's like, go get some lasagna.
Go get some lasagna and a bunch of cookies. And they're like, oh, well, you know, that's not what, we didn't really bid it that way. And you know, our subcontractor didn't catch all of that. So, and we're like, well, that's what you have to provide. And the owners invariably are like, you know, that's okay, we gotta keep the price down. And you know, rarely do people get held to the fire anymore and be like, it was in the specs. Maybe a little bit more public projects, you'll get that because there's oversight. On a private side, it's just like,
So, Hollis and Miller's are a big specifier, and they've gotten burned on some of their.
and who was that?
Hollis and Miller.
Oh, okay, also.
They're a big specifier, and they got burned on a couple of projects because it's a public job. So what they do now is put Lita only as in the spec, and they'll give you the option, hey, if you put in a substitution request form. So let's say Crown Court puts in a substitution request.
Yeah, it's not equal to.
Really will say, will be accepted as long as counterweights are used.
Right.
And that's how they get away, then that's how they get away with it. Because no one has.
Yeah, of course, then you get everybody else upset, well, you know, it's still close spec because it can't,
Because I'm always in the design phase with these architects, so the Wi-Fi, the smartphone application, no one has that, no one has the safety features, no one can go that wide. And it's not just about that, it's how reliable you don't get that.
No, it's cool, I'm all for it.
Was there someone from Paragon here? Was there a Jared?
I did not see Jared.
Jared Youngblood?
Youngblood, yeah, he wasn't.
He called me, somehow got messed up last night, he goes, hey, can you stop by my office after the presentation? So
Yeah, yeah, perfect.
Okay.